production with a larger workforce. And, you could do, I'll cover that in a second. Idea number 3 is to slash military spending and end the military empire. And, doesn't it strike anyone else as extremely silly to be fighting wars on foreign soil while the American people struggle to support their families? The United States of America spends over $1 trillion annually to maintain our overseas military empire with over 700 bases in 150 separate countries. There's only 196 countries in the world, so we've got about 75% of the world covered. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are both lost causes, and do not forget that the Iraq War was initiated by President Bush under false pretenses. Actually, on the front page of my website, there is an article that goes into this in more detail if you're interested. But how about, bring home the 55,000 troops that are stationed over in Germany? Bring home the 40,000 troops that are in South Korea. Bring home the 40,000 troops in Japan. Declare World War II as over. Declare the silly war on terror as over. Some veterans will, of course, need assistance due to PTSD, war wounds, etc., and they need to be treated properly. But in my opinion, no matter how expensive as well, since this is owed by the American people, this returning the troops abroad would also result in a consumer spending boost around the base's local areas. Any unnecessary soldiers could be returned to the private sector, and this would reduce the tax burden, because as taxpayers, or after school, or if you're working currently, you're actually paying for the salaries of soldiers, and they're not creating iPods and whatever else we have for wealth. What this basically does is it reduces the tax burden on the taxpayer to finance an army in the field, and it will also result in a net increase in economic output when the citizen finds employment. Idea number 4, undisguised aid to individuals and families who need it. And I wish to be pretty specific here and frank. And our politicians have committed to, and to a large extent, we the people currently desire and will need a social safety net. And although I'm an enemy of the welfare state, I'm socially pretty liberal, and I don't see any excuses why our fellow Americans should not have food or shelter. But however, make no mistake, the ultimate goal should be to phase the welfare state out, which can be done over a larger time frame with the phase-outs of the bankrupt Social Security plan, which has over $17 trillion per the Federal Reserve, over $17 trillion in unfunded liabilities, and the Medicare plan has over $85 trillion, with a T, dollars in unfunded liabilities. So again, liabilities is what you have to pay out. It's unfunded liabilities, so it's in addition to the current liabilities that they have. So my opinion is that this undisguised aid should be focused really only on the necessary levels of food and shelter. And really, in light of the impending baby boomer wave of retirees, the government will need to do this anyways, since unless you're living in a complete fantasy world, the Madoff Ponzi scheme that is Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid is going to collapse probably within the next decade, or will die when the dollar collapses. The Social Security promise has already been made, however, and we as Americans should do our best to honor it. Although for many, this simply will not be the comfortable retirement that they have dreamed their government would provide. And the best benefit to our younger generation is to give them the option to opt out of this future yoke. When you start working for a job or on your current paychecks, there's 6.3% is taken out for Social Security. That's what you see, but your employer also pays 6.3%. Medicaid and Medicare is about 1.5% and also 1.5% for your employer. So when you add it up, it's actually a 15% flat tax. You only see about 7% on your paycheck. All right, but let there be no mistake. There needs to be a future focus on ending the welfare state situation and also the warfare state situation. We, the people, can do this with the above, but most critically we need to do the below, which is idea 5, to abolish the Federal Reserve System and reform the monetary system. If we have learned nothing else in the past century and past several months, it is that our central bankers planning our monetary policy have a horrendous track record. There is no better example of central economic planning error upon grievous error than in the track records of former Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan and the contemporary Chairman Ben Bernanke. Fiat, and again, fiat means basically by decree, so you say that, this is money. Fiat currency, fiat Federal Reserve notes, can be replaced by fiat United States notes issued from the U.S. Treasury on a one-for-one basis immediately, and our country and our world will be much the better for it. Now, America has really forgotten what money truly is, and actually this is, in my mind, this is one of the real true reasons for our current financial and economic crisis. The wild growth of over-the-counter derivatives would simply not have been possible with honest money. The Founding Fathers explicitly stated in Article 1, Section 10 of our United States Constitution, we have copies for free after the talk, which is still law, it's still lawful, that basically all the gold and silver coins may be used as lawful money. And the dollar, in fact, is defined as a specific mass of silver. And this definition has never been amended. And at the very least, our monetary policy should be debated in a national forum. All right, I'll type the talk. It's been about 35 minutes, and I said I wanted to have plenty of time for questions and answers. But idea number 6 is to reform the financial system. And besides bringing transparency to the over-the-counter derivatives market that I've written about, what I'll have tomorrow is on the website. There'll be links to a couple articles by Michael Lewis and David Einhorn from the New York Times. They did a co-ed article, and also Dr. James Quinn, he's an economics professor at Wharton Business School down near Philadelphia. So again, everything will be on the website tomorrow. And at this point, if you have questions, be willing to take them. And go ahead. Correct.
How would that simply affect the integrity and structure of America's current social classes?
Sure, and to answer that, we have to go a little bit more into detail. And let me quick see if I have this slide here. I actually don't think I do. Okay. I don't have it in this presentation. Really, like I said, you can't really, if you're going to have this military empire abroad, and again, it does cost about $1 trillion, you can't really have both. Like if you're going to say, we need to have this military empire and we need to have these wars abroad, which is the opinion of some people, then I guess I can say, you can't really have an income tax. But if you really cut back, and this is one of the key things to actually understand, is that I said the government collects $3 trillion, but only out of that money, only 2%, $67 billion, is used to run the entire White House, the entire executive branch, the entire Congress, the entire Supreme Court, the FBI, and the federal court system. That only cost $67 billion, and I say only because we could probably cut that in half. So really, you could, if you get rid of the spending that we do on war, you could cut it down. And then also another source that, economically speaking, is not of value, but we do have a corporate income tax that brings in about $350 billion. And that would be plenty to run the rest of necessary government and also defense as well. Did I answer your question okay? Okay. Next question. Please.
What sort of defense do you envision?
Defense as military defense?
Yes.
Sure. What I actually envision is pretty much like we have, first of all, we don't have these armies spread out all over the world. And when we do that, we probably won't need quite as many troops. But we would have them actually inside United States borders or outside of them a little ways, and the United States Navy to maintain the seaways. But really, what it would come down to is just you have your border patrol. I'm not sure if anyone's traveled around Europe, but they have access points into each country which are manned by border patrol. So you have those, and then the rest of the nation's army and armed forces are basically deployed to defend the borders in case of an invasion. Now, do we have an actual risk of invasion? I really don't think so. Go right ahead.
What are risks more from nuclear threats, not conventional warfare invasions.
Okay. The question again was on